Welcome to an Herbal Primer by Greenfire Herbs. This is Lesson 3, Herbalism. According to the dictionary, herbalism is the study or use of the medicinal properties of plants, and so it is. But if you've been following the lessons, you know it can't be that simple. Herbalism is the oldest system of healing on the planet. It's more than using herbs to feel better. It's more than the study of an herb's uses and properties. It's a system of study and application, a way of understanding the relationship between an herb, the one using the herb, and the reason for using it. The one using the herb can be a person, an animal, or even a plant. Companion planting, planting plants that support each other, is a time-honored technique. Growing Roman chamomile around other herbs tends to improve their health and vitality. As for the reason for using an herb, it can be preventative or curative. It's also a way of understanding the relationship between the herbs so that we can better understand their use. We can't know how herbalism came to be. Herbal use is far older than any written records, older than any civilizations or cultures that remain today. Personally, I believe our ancestors used herbs since before they were human. That isn't a stretch. Many animals, when sick or injured, know what herbs they need and how to find them. I imagine, as instinct began to give way to reason, our ancestors would at first continue to eat as they always had, but would begin to wonder why. Later perhaps they would begin to choose what food sources to travel to, seeking out specific types of food. Certainly as they began spreading out across the planet, they would need some kind of guidance on what new foods to try and what to avoid. Some foods are nourishing to some animals, but either useless or toxic to others. So watching what the local animals ate would be helpful, but only to a point. They might also have learned to avoid certain plants based on taste, smell, how the plant felt on the tongue or in the mouth. Much later, people would come to associate these kinds of properties of plants with specific healing properties. In Lessons 1 and 2, we talked a bit about the chemical makeup of herbs. We mentioned that certain chemicals that give an herb its color, taste, or other physical properties can also be responsible for one or more of its healing properties. We mentioned a few examples and call this energetics. Lesson 4 will be on herbal energetics. So far I've talked about energetics in a very simplified way, but you guessed it, energetics is far from simple. Thousands of years ago, we didn't know what a chemical was, and could not have understood that plants are made up of thousands of these chemicals. What we did understand was the need to pay very close attention to detail, to correlate the characteristics we could identify with the safety and effectiveness of any herb we used. We would establish rules based on lifetimes of experience and note those herbs that were exceptions to the rules. In this way, systems of healing were developed and refined over generations of herbalists, even to today. These systems provide a theoretical foundation for herbalism as a system of healing. The lessons following energetics will cover 5 of the main herbal systems in use today: Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, Middle Eastern medicine, the medicinal systems of the American Indians, and Western medicine. The best way to protect your own health is to be responsible for it. This includes how you eat, drink, sleep, move, and relax. We need to nourish our bodies, our minds, and our souls. We need to take care of ourselves. We need downtime for ourselves and time with friends. We need to be and feel useful. We need to sleep well and exercise our bodies. And we need to eat well. Since all of our plant-based foods are herbs, how we eat is the most common and immediate use of herbs. We can choose to cook with the fruits, vegetables, berries, and seasonings that we need to keep our immune system at its peak, support our major organs, keep our digestive system working well, and to promote a healthy nervous system, helping us deal with stress and keeping us emotionally balanced. Or we can choose not to. This makes it very hard to keep herbalism in the hands of a few, even if any of us wanted to. Herbalism is a people's medicine. You are allowed, encouraged to, even, dare I say, responsible for knowing about herbs that would help you to maintain good health. Certainly if you wanted to know more, that's encouraged too. The primary purpose and use of herbalism is to nourish the body and keep it in good health. There are many herbs available that will help you do that. But if you're injured or you do get sick, herbalism can also help you there. Nor do you need to train to be an herbalist to benefit from herbalism. Know your needs and the needs of your family, know what herbs can meet those needs, and know how to use them. But know your limitations. Improperly treating an illness or injury can be dangerous. If your training isn't up to it, seek help from a more experienced practitioner or a doctor. In an emergency, go to the hospital. Herbalism is diverse and inclusive. Today, there are herbalists who look to the historical uses of herbs in determining how they use them. Others evaluate both the person and the herb's energetics. Still others depend on the research being done today on herbs. Most herbalists will consider information from 2 or all 3 of the above sources, though most of us give greater weight to 1 or 2. These are not incompatible. Herbalists will use the information they trust to guide them in how they use herbs, but keeping abreast of the information that's available from all sources can only lead to a deeper and broader understanding of the herbs we use. Look through a few herb books and you'll start to see that different herbalists will recommend different herbs with the same purpose. There are many reasons for this. Most herbs are good for more than one thing, and many herbs can do the same thing, which is why the herbs that are native to your area are likely to be all the herbs you need, and why almost anyone can have a list of 10 herbs that will cover nearly all their needs. Because of different growing conditions, herbs in different parts of the country may be used differently. Finally, all herbalists have their own favorites and least favorites, and we've all had different experiences with the herbs we've used. Some herbalists will only wildcraft their herbs, choosing to find them themselves in their native habitats, which for some herbs can be the unwanted weeds in a neighbor's garden. Some choose to only grow their own, sticking with those herbs that grow well in their areas. Others believe that herbs should only come from their native environments, whether they are wildcrafted or farmed. Still others are okay with ordering herbs that are not native to an area, from local farms, or herbs from other countries that are farmed here. Because so many herbs are endangered today, most of us are careful to ethically wildcraft or to get our herbs from ethical sources. I strongly encourage you to do the same, to help protect our resources for future generations. There are herbalists who feel that herbal supplements purchased in a bottle from a store are stronger and more effective than herbs taken in other ways. Some of these may only recommend capsules or the whole herb supplements over specific herbal chemicals, while others feel the concentrated active chemical is the way to go. Other herbalists would never use herbs in supplement form. Some of these feel that the herbs aren't properly digested, so the supplements are useless. Others may be concerned with the quality of the supplements. Some herbalists prefer to use teas, others prefer tinctures. Then there are herbalists who feel that the herbs should be cooked into our food. There are many ways to take our herbs, and how we take them will often depend on a number of factors, but where there is a choice, most of us have our preferences. As we discuss the 5 major herbal systems beginning in 2 weeks with Ayurveda, you'll see that each system defines and uses energetics in somewhat different ways. So with so many different viewpoints, who is right? All of us. One of the wonderful things about herbalism is there is no one right way. The herbs resonate with all of us and with all of you differently. If herbalism is something you want to study, find your own path. I don't mean you're on your own. I also don't mean you should pick an herb and decide what you think it will do. I mean read books by a variety of herbalists. Study under a few teachers with different viewpoints. Look into different herbal systems and go with what you are most comfortable with. Understand that most herbalists believe that this is healthy and the way it should be. We're respectful of each other's viewpoints and we're always learning from one another. If you're looking for an herbalist to help you, again, look for someone you're comfortable with. If you don't have time to make a lot of tea, find an herbalist who offers the herbs in another way. Or maybe sitting in a cozy chair with your hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea is in itself healing for you. Find an herbalist who works with teas. If an herbalist isn't helping you, or if you've done some reading and you don't agree with their perspective, look for an herbalist with a different viewpoint. There are many different ways to practice herbalism and many different kinds of herbalists. This is as it should be, and all are welcome and respected. In many parts of the world, herbs are used daily by everyone. Not everyone is an herbalist, but everyone knows something about using herbs for their own well-being. Just about every family has a family herbalist. One person, often an elder, who knows how to care for the daily needs of the family. They know how to handle digestive issues, colds and the flu, cuts and scrapes, strains, sprains, and the other common problems typically faced by families. Well, someone has to take care of the results of the boundless energy of active children. When someone doesn't live with family, or something happens that the family herbalist can't handle, the community herbalist is nearby. Community herbalists consult with family herbalists, teach people how to use plants as food and medicine, maintain a wider range of herbs and herbal medicines, and help with situations that are beyond the family herbalist. They focus on teaching and maintaining holistic lifestyles and the everyday use of herbs. A clinical herbalist focuses more on seeing patients. They have additional training in diagnostics and deal with problems that may be beyond the community herbalist. They may use a wider variety of herbs, may use the herbs in different ways, and recommend new preparations. We will be covering herbal preparations later in the primer. Many herbalists focus on growing herbs. Some specialize in formulating herbal preparations. Some maintain apothecaries, giving herbalists local or mail-order access to herbs they don't normally keep on hand. Some work with animals. Others are teachers. In the herbal community, there's room for all of these and more. This lesson was an introduction to the complexities of herbalism and the many different ways to be an herbalist. You should have a much better idea of what herbalism is beyond the study or use of the medicinal properties of plants. Fundamental to herbalism is a system of understanding and using plants. This will be clearer when we look at 5 of the world's major herbal systems, starting with Lesson 5. Energetics is so essential to these systems, we will be looking at it next. We've mentioned it in each of the first 3 lessons, but now we'll cover it in greater detail. So please, join us next week for Lesson 4, Herbal Energetics.